In addition, and probably more importantly, we can enhance the safety, the management aspect of the project, and the operations and life safety aspects. We had a first responders meeting today. We had heard before, and we heard again, that the state police can't talk to local police, which can't talk to local EMS providers without going through, dispatch. And so there's not a direct line of communication, and that creates problems. And so, this firm came to us and said, we can begin to help address that. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to Byron Van Epps. He's the CEO of ISCI, and his firm has presented this proposal. I want to say that, we're evaluating it, we're considering it. It can provide what we're looking for, but it's one of several options. But with that, I'd like to turn it over to Van Epps.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to speak this evening. I wasn't here for the last town hall meeting, so I apologize for that, but I have been coming. This is my 5th trip to the area, and I've had a great opportunity to meet many of the residents, meet many of the establishments, both local hotels and the guest areas. I want to thank each and everybody for coming out this evening, and I'm really going to talk only for a couple of minutes, so I want to give you time to ask questions and participate. But I want to really talk about how we have put together in the past and how we're going to do in the future, bringing jobs to areas. Right now, our company does training in Haiti, for an example. We're doing work with the Haitian Coast Guard, and we've done work in North Carolina. We've done work around the country. Over the last 23 years in our company, we've been very, very fortunate to work literally in 23 of the 50 states in creating jobs in very, very rural areas, and of course in some municipalities where other companies would not necessarily want to set up operations. What we've done is be able to take the residents and provide jobs and training for you, you're in the area, to bring technology jobs to the area, and that's what we're focused on doing. Part of that technology offering is not only to support the park and train people here in the area, not bring somebody from outside the area, but train residents in this area, in the township, and in the surrounding counties, to work in the area and provide that training base for them so that it creates jobs. More importantly, on the technology side, is also to bring jobs to the county. We work for the federal government, we're a federal contractor. We have offices in Manassas, Virginia, just outside of D.C., and in North Carolina. And we have contracts around the country for the federal government providing technology solutions. Our goal here is to allow this area to be used as a technology solution provider of things like, we mentioned off-road vehicles, you've heard that discussion. Well, how about a test site for DARPA? How about testing vehicles, off-road vehicles, unmanned vehicles, those sort of things, and you have plenty of area to do that, and that will then bring contracts to the area, create jobs, the maintenance of the area, and fill in very, very well with everything else. More importantly, one of the things that we do very well, and I'll introduce my Director of Emerging Technologies in just a moment. He's going to discuss in more detail how life safety systems play a very, very, very important part of what you're offering. As you bring people from outside the area into the area, one of the biggest concerns that we have is being able to make sure that it's a safe environment for all, that we don't have the situation where people won't have the ability to be received, if you will, or found if they have an incident or accident or an injury. That does happen, unfortunately. We want to make sure we can get people out. But more importantly, we want to also know if there's anything going on in an area that's not authorized, to be able to get a protected environment, a safe environment. And to talk more about that in our life safety systems, I want to introduce our Director of Emerging Technology, Mr. Andy Young. Andy?
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Today, I met with the first responders and heard some of their concerns about access in and around the area we're talking about. Now, my position in our organization is to develop solutions using technology that's proven to solve a specific problem or problems. Issues at hand here in the park, forgive me for calling it a park, having a hard time breaking down that, involve access control, membership management, and, frankly, illegal activity. Our systems don't enforce laws, they simply report back. We want to use battlefield-proven technology that we use on a day-to-day basis. For instance, like in the Pentagon, to identify threats or opportunities to help people increase the quality of life. It's that simple. So we're proposing that the park consider using wireless sensor networks that are proven. We're hoping that they decide to embrace an operations center that can be used around the clock and multi-purpose. We're hoping that the park will consider using technologies that we use down in Haiti to track our team members who are far more out of contact than any place you have here. You have in pretty remote places, but it's nothing like Haiti. So we want to provide folks, children, people on foot, bicycles, equestrian, as well as motorized vehicles, the ability to feel comfortable and still experience the thrill of being outdoors. Our systems are basically passive, they're unobtrusive, we're not asking anyone to check in, swipe a card, nothing like that. But what we are doing is we're monitoring the area actively. So that's really the crux of our system. It's to have an unobtrusive life safety system that is invisible unless it's needed. The second part of our proposal was directly to the first responders. We understand after listening to them for basically a year, they don't have a unified communications plan. So how will your police, on one side of the park, speak to the police on the other side of the park, or to fire and rescue, or to Lifeline? So we have a proven system we're using in the military, the Pentagon, and around the world that allows us to link all these people together very quickly and efficiently. And so we've asked the police, the Enhanced 911 folks, and the fire and rescue folks to consider our solution as a viable alternative. And that's where we're at. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you.
You know, we have to have rules in the park. I'm sorry to be the one that has to stand up and tell you that we've got to have some rules as we do that. But as we've talked with you folks over the last couple of months, we've tried to focus in and make the rules and policies that we've established something that's going to be useful and beneficial and work for some specific purposes and be as unobtrusive and unintrusive as possible in the ways that you need to use the property out there. And so, of course, what we're trying to do is to establish expectations that people know when they come in, and we're going to do that by adopting rules and identifying consequences. And the plan is that we'll provide for health and safety and welfare of all the visitors at the facility, that will eliminate nuisances that can be created, and that will try and reduce or eliminate as much of the liability on the site as possible. We know that in this type of facility, when you're dealing with outdoor recreation, that there are inherent risks with that, and we know that everybody that comes out there needs to understand that. But even with that said, there are some things that need to be put in place for us to be able to manage it effectively. And some of you have asked about some specific things, and I'm going to try and kind of focus on the specific things as we go through here. We've kind of broken this down into several categories. You know, when you arrive at the facility out there, John indicated you're going to check in at guest services. You're going to be registered. We've talked about registration of vehicles and how we're going to handle that at the park. And I think what you need to know is, for the motorized vehicle component of this, is that our objective is to make sure that we can accommodate all types of motorized vehicles, motorized off-road vehicles. And some of those are tracked under the laws of the state of Pennsylvania that require registration insurance on them. And those include your typical 4x4s and any kind of street legal vehicle. And so those kind of vehicles will be required to have registration insurance on the property. The other of those is the ATVs that are required to register with the Commonwealth and provide insurance. And so that'll be required as well. For those that aren't able to be registered or aren't required to be registered with the Commonwealth or in any fashion like that. They'll still be permitted on the site. Those would include things like modified vehicles that aren't street legal, hand-built or home-built vehicles, dune buggies, sandrails, off-highway motorcycles, those kinds of things that are not part of the registration process in the Commonwealth. And so those will be allowed on the property as well, but we'll pay an additional $10 registration fee as they enter the property. It hasn't been determined yet. I guess it just came to mind whether there would be some way for us to include that $10 as that it's not paid every time that you come on. That maybe there's an annual fee for it. And of course, if you're an ATV rider, the real answer is go register with the state, and then you don't have to pay it at all. But some people don't like to do that. So we'll also look at everybody has to enter through the main point. You'll have to have a permit as you come on, and one of the options, as Andy just talked about, was to have a little card that we'll use that will be a fairly sophisticated, and if it doesn't work out that way, there'll still be some kinds of means of tracking as you go in and out. Everybody will check in when you come in, you'll check out when you go out, so that we know that everybody that came onto the property for the day is either registered for a campsite or they've gone off the property at the end of the day. We have some things related to the personal contact, and these are things that are real, probably pretty expected. No alcoholic beverages, illegal drugs, those kinds of things. Nobody under the influence of alcohol on the property, no firearms, no littering, no weapons. There'll be some I'll talk about. I know that all of you already are thinking, what about us hunters? But we'll come to that in a minute, because we aren't going to let the hunters come out without your weapons. We'll make sure that we can accommodate that. We do address the vehicles that are coming on the property in order to make sure that we're providing so that for the safety of the users, for the protection of the property, and the protection of the surrounding neighbors. And so we are expecting to require the motorcycles and ATVs to have functioning muffler systems, approved spark arresters, ATVs. The motorcycles can't exceed 96 decibels in sound, and we'll have a means of testing that on site, and that's pretty standard in most facilities. Those of those larger vehicles that really, as John indicated, like to bring their big vehicle out there and try and bang it up and destroy parts of it. The expectation is that it's your responsibility to get any breakdowns or any vehicles off of the property and out of the trails as quickly as possible. The full-size vehicles will need to, you can see on the slide up there, the kinds of things that we would expect out of full-size vehicles in terms of roll bars and other safety equipment that are on them.